I've fired my old design tools, Figma, Adobe. I mean, they still exist and I have licenses for them in case I ever need to use them. But they are gathering digital dust at this point in time. I'm a digital product designer who has not used Figma for actual product work in months. And the work has never been better. So this video is the blueprint for what replaced them. No sponsored tools, no affiliate links, just a stack that is actually getting the job done in Q2 of 2026. Today, I rarely touch a specialized design tool. When I do, it feels like visiting a country where I have forgotten the language. But before I show you the stack, I need to talk about what a design team needs, because tools without purpose are just toys. So I think there are four main goals that a design team needs to achieve. And one is the exploration piece. So in the beginning of any project, you are exploring, designing your application for various, audiences, use cases. You might even be testing design themes, etc. So you're diverging and you're kind of like imagining a whole lot of different concepts, and you're trying to work that out. Prior to AI tools, this task was extremely hard. But with AI tools, it's just a matter of a prompt. The tool stack needs to make that exploration work effortless. The second step is what I call bridging the gap. This is where you're working with these broad strokes that AI developed, and you're making refinements and fine-tuning it in order to bring it to the complete stage. The third is the handoff. So what we spoke about earlier, where the designer hands off to a developer, that piece has to become much simpler. Here is where the old workflow falls apart. Figma hands off to a surface. Developers have to come onto that surface in order to get some code. But everything else, like the micro interactions, transitions, responsive behavior, require discussion-led development. The stack needs to hand off working code, not just pictures of code. Finally, projects evolve. After the first version, you want to build new features, somebody else from another team needs to do it, or someone from your own team needs to extend and build on that feature. We need ways for these people to come in and build on top of things. We need to make them extensible, not a locked file format where only somebody who is proficient with a specific tool can work on it. These four goals, exploration, bridging the gap, handing off, extending, are the filter that I run every tool through. If it does not serve at least one of these goals, it does not make the cut. Now let me show you what fits all these needs. The single tool that we need now is Hermes agent, but the foundation is Ollama. Think of Ollama as the model library and the engine that runs them. I pay the same $20 a month that I would for ChatGPT or Claude, but Ollama gives me flexibility. I can switch between powerful cloud-hosted models and private, locally running models without ever changing much else. That privacy toggle matters. Not every project's details can go to a hosted provider because of these privacy concerns. If you're working in the medical field or the legal field, for example, you already know this. So download it, install it, open it. Ollama has its own minimal chat interface if you want to just ask questions, but we are going to go further. Next, Hermes agent. This is the harness, comparable to OpenClaw, but actually a more suitable comparison is to Claude Code, but built with much more security in mind and loaded with tools and skills that work out of the box. One killer feature Hermes has is the ability for it to build its own skills. If it notices you repeating a task, it just turns that into a reusable skill. It's like having an assistant that learns your workflows without you having to document them. Installation is straightforward. You just open up a terminal and you type out this command. If everything went smoothly, this single command will get you fully set up. That installs both the tools, hooks them together, and points Hermes at the best available model. At the time of filming, that is DeepSeek V4 Pro. Check the Ollama models page often if you want something newer. If the shortcut does not work, there is a manual path that you can follow, and that's available on my website at this address. The basics work, but here is how to make them work for you. I do not sit in front of a terminal all day. I want the agent available wherever I am. Hermes supports multiple gateways. I use Slack because that's the interface that I find most familiar. And you have the ability to have multiple chat threads within Slack. Discord works too. I would avoid Telegram because the threading limitations become painful very quickly. Hermes has built-in memory, but Honcho makes it deeper. It is more technical. It involves installation of Docker and some terminal discomfort, but skip it if all this sounds exhausting. But I do not recommend the hosted version because again, privacy matters. This is the game changer. Run multiple Hermes agents with the same infrastructure, but for different purposes. You can do this using something called profiles. The documentation speaks about this in terms of functions like coding or research and things like that, but I find it's more useful to think of them as people because the functions may overlap and you want to allow room for that. I have 5 profiles, for example. One is a general assistant for personal tasks and research. One is a language tutor. One is a coding specialist. No dog medication context there. One for business operations, and one is a private local chat where nothing ever leaves the machine. The only catch, they cannot talk to each other. I wish they could because you could hand off tasks between each of them, but that is not how Hermes is architected yet. Every profile has a soul.md file. Spend some time on this. Specify your home folder, your communication style, your organizational structure, where your company operation manual lives. I cut out so much repetition by telling my agents once in the soul. Also specify when to delegate. Assign a lightweight model for everyday replies and a heavyweight model for complex tasks. In my coding profiles soul.md, for example, I wrote, you should delegate any long-running or complicated coding tasks. Now, the fast model answers quick questions and the powerful model steps in automatically when things get serious. Chrome, Paper, and Framer all offer MCP server connections. Get these configured and your agent can edit designs, view them in the browser, and share them without you acting as the middleman. And the setup is easy as well. Just ask your agent to do it. Since you're now going to be building working prototypes, version control is a non-negotiable. Hermes knows GitHub even if you do not. Just ask it to start using it and your life is just going to be so much better because of it. And finally, voice. Talking is much faster than typing and you're going to be doing a lot of typing otherwise. So use voice for direction and input. Code itself is harder to dictate, but you will save hours on everything else. Firstly, just on a broad level, you have 3 building modes. So one is, where you just ask your agent to go out and do something and it'll go build it out, making a lot of assumptions along the way. But this is very useful for explorations where you don't want to sit and specify extreme detail in order to just see if a certain direction works. You can just ask your agent to do something. The second mode is where you do a plan first kind of approach where you specify what you want to do, ask it to debate the entire application with you so that all the assumptions that it would have made end up surfacing. And this is very useful when you're sharp about how you want to build the application. And this is the method which will save you a lot of time, rework at the later stage, which is much more inefficient to build applications. And the last one is working with paper, especially applications where you have multiple states, like errors and lots of other conditions to capture, and there are multiple workflows. This is easier to just have all the screens laid out in front of you so that you can examine all of it without having to run the application and simulate that particular scenario which will produce that particular error or that particular state. So use paper for that. Let me formalize the workflow, then be honest about where it breaks. Step 1, plan with the agent. Describe the goal, ask for the implementation plan, explicitly request questions. Step 2, debate and influence. Use the agent's questions to surface assumptions. Redirect before a single line of code is even written. Step 3, watch and intervene. It all the LLMs start listing their thinking in front of you, and you can actually use that to get in there and make some fixes along the way if you need to. So if you notice it doing something that making a certain assumption that you don't want it to, you can type out another message and say, not this, do it this other way, and you can fix things as things go along. Step 4, this is testing and refining. I think this is one of the more important ones, and you've got to be in this mode where you're going to be launching and testing the application constantly. One of the things you can also do is, if there are some errors that occur, you can copy paste those errors back to your agent and ask it to go solve it. Switch to cursor or windsurf if you need to point at specific elements that paper cannot identify. Step 5, create design systems. But more broadly speaking, create a scaffold that others can come and build upon. So as you go, tell Hermes to document the entire work that it's doing. It becomes a markdown file that's attached along with the project, and it'll become a good solid foundation for future extension work. Now, the limitations. I tried forcing AI into Figma. It felt like putting a jet engine into a horse cart. I kind of mentioned this other one before. My 5 agent profiles cannot talk to each other. I sometimes have to repeat myself. After having spoken to agent 1, I have to kind of repeat whatever I said over there to agent 4 maybe. And the ideal would have been for the one agent to delegate the task to another agent, which is much more specialized. And so I didn't have to do that orchestration, but at the moment, this is how it's architected, and that's the limitation that you've got to be ready for. This is about privacy. Ollama's cloud models promise not to train on your data, and they have agreements with the models that they run that specify that those providers are not allowed to train on your data. While that's true, and the contracts do exist, it's just a contract. There is potential for some of these cloud providers not to honor that contract that they have with Ollama. So it's not a guarantee when you're working with cloud hosted models. But the benefit of working with Ollama is you can switch cloud providers on a constant basis. And that itself breaks the amount of data that each of the providers might have about you. It's not everything, but it's there. And finally, low fidelity wireframes. This is something I really miss, and I can see sometimes that my work kind of required it. The deliberation, the rough explorations, the thinking through that we did on low fidelity wireframes, that's something that I kind of miss now, because the AI kind of like makes a lot of assumptions and goes right through. And sometimes, these assumptions are good and because it makes the right ones. But there are other times where it makes the wrong calls, and you would have caught those if you had been doing low fidelity wireframes. It's not a deal breaker. You can, for some iterations, and surface those problems that low fidelity wireframes would have. So put in the effort to go slow. So that is the stack. Ollama for models, Hermes agent as the harness, paper, chrome, and framer for any of the specific design surfaces, and GitHub for version control, and voice dictation for speed, and multiple profiles for context management. It's not perfect. It does not replace every design task, but it has fundamentally changed how I think about the gap between design and functional software. If this video was useful, subscribe, and see you in the next one.